Today we're taking a closer look at the catalytic converter replacement Y-pipe available for all 2009 through 2013 Silverado 1500s, excluding the 6.2 liter trucks. Now this is going to be a super affordable alternative to a factory replacement from your local dealer while delivering a 100% brand new pair of cats in a factory steel Y-pipe that will include all of your pre-welded O2 bungs and gaskets and hardware, all for right around that $400 price point. Now, as far as our features are concerned, well, again, this is pretty straightforward here, guys, as the Y-pipe is simply designed to replace your aging or failed factory cats, but for a fraction of the cost of going down to your local Chevy dealer and getting a new set directly from GM. So maybe you failed inspection, possibly received a cat code on your rig. Whatever the case, this is going to be a great way to get you back to new again and do so in an affordable manner. Moving into construction, and as we mentioned earlier, this is going to be a direct factory replacement in every single way. The piping and the cat location will all be identical to stock, meaning fit and finish should be dead on. Now the replacement Y-pipe will feature a durable steel build along with that ceramic substrate for your cat material. The replacement Y-pipe will also include pre-welded O2 bungs in addition to your brand new 2-bolt flanges and all of the hardware and gaskets, making this a very turnkey package that will be ready to install right out of the box. Last but not least, the Y-pipe will be backed by a 1-year warranty in case you run into any issues. Price point here is certainly feature worthy, as this Y-pipe replacement will land around $400, give or take a bit, making this one of the most affordable ways to replace the cats on your Chevy truck at the time of this video. And again, will be a fraction of the cost of a factory GM replacement, which can easily cost you over $1,000, if not more. Moving into our install, and the site's going to call this a solid 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you at least an hour to complete, maybe a little bit more, depending on how rusty your factory hardware is. Now with that being said, it's probably not a bad idea to soak all of your hardware, your existing factory hardware that is, in a good amount of PB Blaster or something similar the night before you attempt the install.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, exhaust hanger remover tool, clip remover tool, 21mm wrench, 7/8 wrench, a few different extensions, 15mm socket, 15 and 21mm swivel sockets, and an O2 sensor socket.
What's up, guys? Today we're installing an exhaust on our Silverado. First we're going to watch a quick on-install video showing you how to remove your factory exhaust, and then we'll meet you back here for the install.
It's going to start with this 13mm clamp holding our factory cat back to the cat pipe right here. Grab your 13 socket and loosen that guy up. All right, we don't really need the sockets anymore. We're just going to switch over to a hanger removal tool, which I definitely recommend. Pry bar works as well. This is just a little bit easier. We have a bunch of hangers we need to pop out of some isolators. So grab your hanger tool or something similar, and you're going to basically pry these guys out. Lubricating the hangers definitely goes a long way to make things easier. For that, you can use WD-40 or PB Blaster or something similar, just to help it slide out easy. All right, so now we can move down the line and get the next two. All right, for this next step, I have a pole jack underneath of our muffler supporting it. We're gonna pop off the hanger right above the muffler, really right over the axle too. Grab your hanger tool and pop that guy off. Having that pole jack or floor jack definitely helps give it some stability there. All right, for this next one, you wanna be careful because this is the last piece holding this guy up, so it's gonna get pretty loose and wobbly. Once you pop this out, you can take the entire exhaust off all in one piece. All right, so this may be easier with a helping hand if you have a friend on deck to give you a hand doing this, but it can be done by yourself. Just make sure you're being careful because it is still all one piece.
So now that we have our catback exhaust removed, I'm going to start by disconnecting our O2 sensor connectors. Now all 4 of these are very easy to find. Just find your O2 sensor, follow the wire up. You've got this green locking tab that you're going to have to pull out, and then you can disconnect your connector. Then once that's popped out, pull up on that white tab and disconnect your connector. Now I'm just going to throw that over the frame and let that dangle. Now, still on the passenger side, if you go right in front of that downstream O2 connector, you'll find your upstream connector right behind it. It's just right on the other side of this body mount. Exact same thing, we're just pulling out this green tab and then pulling back on the white and disconnecting our connector there. So now once you have all your O2 sensors disconnected, we can leave 3 out of 4 of our O2 sensors installed, but we are gonna have to remove the upstream O2 sensor on the passenger side because it's blocking one of our nuts. So I'm gonna go in with a spark plug socket over the frame rail behind the fender liner. You don't have to pull the fender liner out for this. We just have a better camera angle from the side. So we're gonna slip the slotted part over the wire, get onto that sensor, and thread it out. If you're getting caught up, turn your ratchet into tightening and run it back a few turns and just go back and forth that way until it's smooth. And then you can pull out your sensor. So now with our O2 sensor disconnected, we have access to that one nut. So I've got a couple of extensions and a 15mm swivel socket that I'm using to pop this nut off. And now we can get on our bottom one. And then we'll get that top corner by the transmission. Now hopping over to the driver's side, we're gonna do the same thing. We've got our O2 sensor up top here that we need to disconnect our connector for. It's gonna be that green tab again that we need to pull out. And then lift up on the white clip. Pop that connector out. And then our other one's gonna be on the side of the transmission. Now our upstream O2 sensor goes up to the side of the transmission. This one's a little more difficult to get to. And our sensor is also on a clip, so I'm gonna grab a clip remover tool to pop that out. And now I'm gonna fish my clip remover tool up in there to get behind the clip and wiggle off my connector. Now we can actually get a flathead screwdriver right in here under that black clip, and then we can slide it towards the back of the transmission and pop it off the clip that way. So now we're gonna hop up to our driver's side flange and start undoing our nuts. These might be a little bit hard to see. There's a lot blocking on this side. Just get your 15mm swivel socket onto those nuts and remove them. And then we'll get the one above that at the top of our flange. And the last one, you're gonna have to go in between the sway bar and the cat. That one's hiding up in there. Make sure you're on there straight. And then I'm just gonna hold my crossover pipe back here. This is the last thing holding it on, so I just don't want it slipping down. So now we're gonna have to remove our cross member to be able to get our cat pipe out. So we've got 2 nuts under here, and then we've got 2 bolts on each side. Now I've put a pole jack underneath of our transfer case to support the weight of the transmission because the cross member has your transmission mount attached to it. So make sure that's on there nice and tight, and then we'll remove the 2 transmission mount bolts first, and then we'll get our sides. So now we're gonna take a 15mm swivel socket to remove my 2 nuts in the center section of the cross member. Now for the 2 bolts on each side, I'm taking a 21mm swivel socket and a 21mm wrench, and we'll remove those. So now for the 2 bolts on each side, I'm taking a 21mm swivel socket and a 21mm wrench to remove these.
And now I'm gonna pull one bolt out. I'm gonna leave my other one in just to support it while I do the other side. And then I'm gonna grab Buddy, we're gonna pull this down and we'll pull out our whole cat pipe. So now I've got my Buddy here. We're gonna pull out our last two bolts holding this cross member in, and then we can drop this down and remove our cat pipe. Now make sure that your transfer case or transmission is very well supported before you do this. And now we just gotta maneuver this out of place. So now we need to transfer over our O2 sensors from our stock cat pipe over to our new one. Now we're gonna do each and every one besides that one that we had to remove to get access to our nut. We're gonna put that in at the end. So grab yourself an O2 sensor socket or a 22mm or 7/8 wrench and pop these out. I'm gonna do one at a time here so that we don't mix them up. Now do that same thing for the rest of your sensors. So now I'm gonna start by installing the passenger side of our Y pipe. Now, I would definitely recommend replacing that donut gasket that's up on that flange. Now we don't have one included in the kit, so I'm just gonna be reusing that factory one. But I'm gonna raise this up, get my flange aligned on my studs. I'm gonna get my nuts on there just a couple turns because I still wanna be able to move this back and forth for when we connect the other side. Go ahead and raise that up. Get your flange aligned and then start threading on your nuts. So now I've got all my nuts threaded on and I still have some good maneuverability here so we can connect it once we get the other side installed. So now I'm going to take my clamp and slip that over the passenger side of our tube. And then I'm going to grab my driver's side. Now on this flange we have this ring that we need to install. So just lay it in there. Connect your pipes. I'm just making sure that ring's still seated in there where it needs to be. And then I'll connect my flange and start threading on some nuts. Now for that last one on the outside that we had to get above the sway bar for, I'm just gonna lift the corner of the fender liner and I can reach over the frame and thread that nut on. So now we can go ahead and tighten down our flanges. Now on this side, we're gonna have to tighten this down evenly. The other side's just a flat flange. So I'm gonna lift up on this a little bit so that my pipe's not sitting on the cross member mount. And I'll take my 15mm swivel socket and start tightening these nuts. And then you can kind of sneak behind the cat in between the frame to get to the last one. Now I'm going to hop over to the driver's side and do the same thing, 15mm socket, and tighten these down. Next, we can reinstall our cross member. Slide your bolts through. And then thread your nuts on the other side. And then also take your 2 nuts for the transmission mount and thread those on. And now we can start tightening everything down. I'm going to start in the middle with my transmission mount. Take a 15mm swivel socket, tighten those nuts down. And then grab your 21mm swivel socket and 21mm wrench and tighten down your cross member bolts. Now with our cross member reinstalled and tightened down, we can remove that pole jack or floor jack off the transfer case. And then we'll come over to our clamp at our crossover here and take a 15mm socket and tighten that down. So now we can just plug in all of our O2 sensors. I'm going to start with the driver side upstream here. It's definitely the worst one. Now on this part of the connector, this is where that black tab is going to slide in to hold it. Plug in your connector and then get that green locking tab, slide it in just like that. And then we'll hook that up onto that black plastic clip. And then we'll get our downstream O2 on the driver's side. That's right up on the frame here. Plug that in, and then take that green locking tab and push that through. Now I'll hop over to the passenger side and reconnect my downstream O2 on the top of the frame, right above the body mount. And then once again, find that green locking tab and slide that in. And then we'll hop to the upstream that we need to reinstall into our pipe. So now I'm gonna take my upstream O2, I'm gonna go over the frame rail and into the bung at the top of our cat pipe. Now it's gonna be very difficult to see. The new design of this cat is blocking the viewing that we had on the factory. But you can just kind of do it by feel, stick your hand in there, find your threads, and thread it in until it bottoms out. So now it's bottomed out, so I'm gonna grab my O2 socket so that you can kind of pull back on the fender liner a little bit to get up in there. Now the angle that the sensor's at now, I can't really get an O2 sensor socket, so I'm using this open end 7/8 wrench. So I'll get on there and just snug that down. So now we can grab our O2 sensor connector, connect that, grab your green locking tab, and put it through the hole. And then we have our clip that came off. So this tree clip is gonna go into that hole. And then we're just gonna clip this around that wire harness. It's now ready to throw our cat back on. I'm gonna take our factory clamp first and get it over the flange. And then I'm gonna grab my buddy to help me raise this up and get it into the hangers. And now we're gonna come back to the flange, spread your clamp so you can get it over both pipes, and then just take a 13mm socket to tighten it down. Then straighten your clamp out and crank down on it.
So that'll wrap up this review and install of the catalytic converter Y-pipe for your 2009 to 13 Silverado and Sierra 1500, excluding 6.2 liter. Thank you for watching, and for all things Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.